Ravi Karnanaika's involvement at bond auctions revealed. Cabinet paper submitted to appoint former Deputy Governor of the Central Bank P. Samarasiri as advisor to Prime Minister. Clean water wasted while thousands go without. Money for higher education or highways? Dilemma for Secretary to the Ministry of Higher Education and Highways. Cabinet approval granted to purchase electricity worth 18 billion rupees from the private sector.
If you want to know the latest from here at home and across the world, well, you're tuned on to the correct channel. A very good evening and welcome to Primetime News, live on Newsfirst. I'm Mahina Bongzo.
A very good evening. I'm Zola Outscoon. Let's start off with the stories in detail.
24 districts across the country are suffering due to the lack of clean drinking water. In such a backdrop, we received this disturbing report of thousands of litres of water going to waste for the past 3 months.
The water that is wasted in this manner is purified, clean water. This pipeline that runs from Hambantota to Meegahajadura carries purified water from the Valava River to the Hambantota city.
Sent all the relevant documentation to the water board in Hambantota asking for water. They say they do not have the adequate pressure to provide water to these two villages. Why can't they provide water to these villages? Isn't this a crime?
The people lament that the water that is wasted in this manner is taken in bowsers for the expressway projects. With the drought that has plagued these villages, crops and cultivation have also been severely affected due to the lack of water. This is the manner in which the fields that the water is flowing into are being cultivated. Are the people who hold power blind to the massive wastage? Shouldn't legal action be taken against such heinous crimes? Newsfirst will reveal the perpetrators responsible for such acts to the public.
For many years, the village of Kurullan Pokuna in Ampara suffered due to the lack of clean drinking water. But no longer.
The Kurullan Pokuna village is home to around 200 families. Up until today, their main source of drinking water was a bowser. This, coupled with severe droughts that often hit this region, has made the lives of these farmers and their families a daily struggle. Last year, the Gammadda movement identified this need in its island-wide door-to-door research project carried out together with the University of Peradeniya. Having sought funding from the public and private sectors, Gammadda began construction of a public well that would provide villagers with a source of clean drinking water. The Pereira Foundation, under the patronage of Dr. Sujata Pereira, provided the funding for this project.
This will make our life much easier because we struggle without water. We can use this well for drinking water.
There was a serious lack of drinking water. We are happy that this well was built for us.
While this public well is by no means a large-scale development project, it was built by the people, for the people. And it will change the lives of a rural Sri Lankan community neglected by generations of politics.
Evidence before the Presidential Commission of Inquiry have revealed the involvement of former Finance Minister Ravi Karnanaika at Treasury bond auctions. Newsfirst Zulfiq Farzan reports.
8 witnesses testified before the Presidential Commission of Inquiry today, and among them were the 3 chairmen of National Savings Bank, People's Bank and the Bank of Ceylon. A majority of these witnesses testified that before the 29th and 31st of March 2016 auctions, they were summoned to the Finance Ministry, where then Finance Minister Ravi Karnanaika had instructed them to bid at those auctions at low yield rates. At both meetings, Ravi Karunanayake had instructed the state banks to bid at low rates. The witnesses said Ravi Karunanayake had assured them no bids higher than the rates prescribed by him would be accepted. They said the acceptance of a higher volume at high yield rates opposed to the assurance given by Karunanayake had deprived them of making better profits at market rates. They said Ravi Karunanayake breached the assurance given to them. The state banks had made an opportunity loss as a result of this. The senior officials from these three state banks were summoned to the Presidential Commission because in one of the deleted PTL conversations, Arjun Aloysius is heard telling Kasun Palisena that state banks will be bidding low at the 29th March 2016 auction. Both these meetings were chaired by former Minister Ravi Karunanayake. These meetings were also attended by former senior government officer R. Paskaralingam, central bank officials and treasury officers. Two witnesses said former deputy governor of the central bank P. Samarasiri was present for one meeting, but Samarasiri's counsel denied this claim. The key witnesses today were chairman of the People's Bank Hemasiri Fernando, chairman of the National Savings Bank Ashwin De Silva and chairman of the Bank of Ceylon Ronald Pereira.
For more revelations made at the Presidential Commission of Inquiry, log on to our Facebook page and our website www.newsfirst.lk.
A proposal was made to Cabinet yesterday to appoint retired Central Bank Deputy Governor P. Samarasiri to an advisory post at the Ministry of Finance and Mass Media. Samarasiri faces allegations regarding the Central Bank Treasury bond scam.
The Prime Minister and the Minister of Finance and Mass Media jointly put forward the Cabinet proposal for the appointment of P. Samarasiri to the post of advisor. The Cabinet paper seeks permission for an appointment to seek adversarial expertise in drafting plans for the proposed Public Debt Management Office. Apart from appointing P. Samarasiri as an advisor, the Cabinet paper seeks permission for a monthly allowance of 75,000 rupees and the facilities given to an additional secretary to a ministry as well. However, a number of matters have been revealed regarding P. Samarasiri during the inquiry carried out by the Presidential Commission of Inquiry investigating the Treasury bond issue. During the time of the controversial Treasury bond auction, Samarasiri served as the tender board chairman. Evidence before the Commission had revealed at the auction dated 27th February 2015, Samarasiri had followed the directive of then Governor Arjuna Mahendan to accept 10 billion rupees in bids without independently evaluating the bids. Reports also claim he was present at meetings where former Finance Minister Ravi Karunanayake was also in attendance. P. Samarasiri had separately retained counsel to make representations at the Presidential Commission of Inquiry. A number of persons who faced allegations surrounding the bond scam were posted to several institutions on previous occasions. Today, at the Commission, it was revealed that Ravi Karunanayake instructed state banks to bid lower than the market rates. When such allegations were made before, Ravi Karunanayake was removed from the post of Minister of Finance and was appointed Minister of Foreign Affairs. However, the lotteries boards were moved under his ministry. When details of Ravi Karunanayake's penthouse-style apartment were exposed, he resigned from his ministry, but he was vested with the program for rural infrastructure development, which is funded by the taxpayer. Similarly, when former Central Bank Governor Arjuna Mahendan was not given a service extension over the bond scam, he was made the head of the government's 5-year plan. At the COPE inquiry, the other 4 members of the tender board said the decision was taken by the chairman of the board. He is facing allegations. Today, Ranil Wickramasinghe and Mangala Samaravira have come to his aid to protect him. These people must not be attached to temple trees. Just like Pinnavala Orphanage, everyone who is alleged to have committed theft is given a desk and chair at temple trees. When it comes to the bond scam, every single person accused in this has been moved to temple trees. The friends will have a nice cup of tea to plan their escape from the decision made by the Presidential Commission.
The The World Bank has issued a media release stating that Sri Lanka has entered into an agreement to modernize and improve the efficiency of the financial sector. According to a release issued by the World Bank, the agreement will be financed through a $75 million loan from the International Development Association, the World Bank's grant and low-interest arm, with a maturity of 25 years that includes a grace period of 5 years. The new Finance Sector Modernization Project, FSMP, was signed today by the World Bank Country Director for Sri Lanka and the Maldives and Secretary to the Treasury, RHS Samaratunga. This 5-year project will be implemented via the financial sector regulators, the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, Securities and Exchange Commission of Sri Lanka, and the Insurance Board of Sri Lanka. Programs to modernize and improve efficiency of the finance sector will be pointless if senior members of the government continue to poke their fingers into financial matters, as in the case of the bond scam. How do you improve the financial sector when the Minister of Finance dictates interest rates and decisions to be taken by state banks, as reported at the Bond Commission today? As early free market economist and classical liberal French author Frédéric Bastiat said, when plunder becomes a way of life for a group of men in a society, over the course of time they create for themselves a legal system that authorizes it and a moral code that glorifies it.
Now we join cartoonist Asangaladu Heti for tonight's Picture That Speaks Louder Than Words.
It's time now for a short commercial break. Stay with us. The 8th Conference of the Association of SARC Speakers and Parliamentarians commenced in Colombo today. The conference was chaired by Speaker of Parliament Karu Jayasuriya.
The 8th Conference of the Association of SARC Speakers and Parliamentarians saw the participation of President Maithripala Sirisena, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe, parliamentarians and speakers of all 7 SARC countries.
We are proud to state that Sri Lanka has a proud record of upholding parliamentary democracy for continuous 70 years despite many obstacles, including 2 failed military coup attempts, 2 youth disturbances and a 30-year civil war that crippled the life of the whole country. We take pride to announce that today the Sri Lanka Parliament has been recognized as a role model for other countries by the Inter-Parliamentary Union, IPU. A code of conduct for the members of Parliament also has been drafted, almost finalized, with the intention of regulating the conduct of members of Parliament in their official capacity as representatives of the people. A new constitution which will benefit all communities is also being drafted, having observed the views and aspirations of the people of Sri Lanka. With all these new initiatives, we firmly believe the parliament democracy will prosper in our country. Our consensual government believes working in agreement with all parties for the betterment of the country. And also after a long lapse, all the 8 SARC countries are in Sri Lanka soil, and it's a great honor for our country for the presence of all 8 SARC members at this moment.
We have to hold a consensus to move forward. It is like moving across a minefield. One false step and you will get blown up. That is what constitution making is. So how do we proceed on this? And firstly, we will look at the views that people will express, and we expect many of them to reflect the party positions. But the Constituent Assembly and the Steering Committee is also opportunity to hold talks of the public eye. So we are all agreed this country can't be divided. This country should be one. System of proportional representation and constituencies very much on the lines of the New Zealand system. Now we will know how the system works out, because in January we will be holding the elections to the local authorities. And that will give us an experience of this election system. So it's a step-by-step Nothing has been concluded, and the next we will ask all the stakeholders outside Parliament to give us their views, consult with them, and then use this mechanism to form a consensus. But people are questioning us, when are you going to do it? So the parliamentarians have to realize that the time is limited. And in the course of early part of next year, we have to show that we are capable of taking the next steps.
A commemorative stamp was also issued to mark the 8th conference of the Association of SAC Speakers and Parliamentarians in Sri Lanka.
The discussed committee report should be formulated with a multi-party involvement. The constitutional reform should not be formulated to advance personal agendas. However, it is important that the constitutional reform needs to consolidate democracy and assure the public of their freedom. Therefore, the government's efforts to present the interim report is being appreciated by us, and it's also very important that the interim report that will be taken up for discussion will be the same as the one that will be presented to Parliament. We do not want to see the recurrence of the Provincial Council Amendment Act scenario. The Act should be discussed openly without tarnishing the image of the government if the objective of the new Act is the welfare of the public.
In more local news, Cabinet approval has been granted to purchase emergency power of 100 megawatts.
The Ministry of Power and Renewable Energy says that as a result of the prevailing dry weather conditions, the generation of hydropower has been limited. The subject minister has informed the Cabinet of Ministers that the extra 100 megawatts is required to provide continuous electricity without power failures. The Cabinet has approved the request made to obtain the 100 megawatts from the private sector at an estimate cost of 18 billion rupees.
The Secretary to the Ministry of Higher Education and Highways arrived at the University of Visual and Performing Arts for an event today. Let's take a look at the views he expressed at this event.
There are two parts to our ministry. One is on the education side, the higher education sector. The other side is completely different. It is in the highways sector. However much the government focuses on this, we discuss all the time that if you allocate the money that is spent to construct 1 kilometer of a road for the education of a child, how helpful it will be. The ministry is now focusing its attention on this.
The Tourism Leaders Summit and International Research Symposium was held at the BMICH in Colombo this morning under the theme Sustainable Tourism for Development and the Way Forward for Sri Lanka.
The event was graced by President Maithripala Sirisena. Over 1,000 industry leaders and revolutionary figures, including nearly 100 foreign delegates who are committed to making a change in the tourism industry, participated at the event.
It's quite clear that the strengths and settings of Sri Lanka's natural, historic and cultural assets, tangible and intangible both, will position Sri Lanka competitively for years to come. However, we should not forget that we need to manage tourism industry without damaging our environment, and in that context, responsible tourism becomes very important in this regard. Responsible tourism is the tourism which minimizes negative social, economic and environmental impacts. It generates greater economic benefits for local people and enhances the well-being of host communities. We have to manage tourism and generate income in a very responsible way.
For us here in Sri Lanka, our aim is to achieve 4 million tourist arrivals by the year 2020. Along with the hope, we hope to earn US dollars approximately 7 billion, which is much needed foreign exchange for our country, provided also direct employment to more than 600,000 people and a 1 million benefit to the indirectly coming up from the industry.
You're tuned on to Primetime News. We'll have more news after this short commercial break. Welcome back to the news. Still in local news, the JVP speaking to reporters today commented on the cost of living and prices of commodities.
According to the Colombo Consumers Price Index, an average family of 4 in Colombo requires 63,064 rupees to survive for a month. This includes 3,538 rupees allocated monthly for education. The Department of Census and Statistics accepts an average family requires 60,364 rupees for a month. But recently, SB Disanayaka, speaking in Parliament, said an average household of 4 members will only have to bear a cost of 14,196 rupees. He made calculations based on the inflation rate. This rate is basically the requirement to barely survive without moving about, without spending on clothing, and without spending on food or any cultural activity. He says the cost of 4,327 rupees per person. When it is multiplied by 4, the figure reaches 17,308 rupees. Is this even fair? When Bandula Gunawardena was a minister, he said a person can survive on 2,500 rupees a month. In July 2017, Minister S.V. Disanayaka says a person can survive on 4,327 rupees a month. These are answers given by the ministers of this country. They are gearing up for the elections. They reduced the cost of goods ahead of the elections. Now they are increasing the prices. Will it be reduced ahead of the election? When the IMF was here, they requested a change in fuel prices. The government increased the price of LP gas by 110 rupees. Did the Committee on Economic Management take such a decision thinking about the people? I doubt that.
The past pupils of the batch of 80 at Royal College Colombo made a financial donation to the college Sea Scouts today. The Chief of Defence Staff, Admiral Ravi Vijayagunawardena, attended the event as the chief guest.
All the professions that we are holding now, are we grooming our children? Are we giving them the leadership and other tasks that we were groomed in our school time? And how many of our children have time to do scouting today? You are going to motivate a lot of children in this hall, especially the Sea Scouts, to do well.
Shield was also presented to Admiral Ravi Vijayagunawardena for the services he has rendered to the country as a past pupil of Royal College Colombo. A centre to produce prosthetic limbs has been constructed in Kilinochchi with support from Malaysia.
The centre is being established in partnership with the University of Jaffna.
And last year we started the initiative with Cambodia, Lebanon, as well as Turkey. And this year, the government of Malaysia proposed Bangladesh, and I insisted that Sri Lanka should be part of it. Then I believe Sri Lanka itself at crossroads now. We are looking at probably 8 or 9 years after war. And the scenario is totally different from what it was earlier. We had a scenario within the last 9 years, the cost of living have gone much more higher than it was earlier. And war victims or those who are involved in the war during the crisis are slowly being not seen like heroes. So Sri Lanka is one of those very few countries which is in dire need for immediate attention to uplift the social economic standard of these Tamils or Sri Lankans or whoever are affected. With this program, I believe it will give new hope. All we need to do is give them a hope that the world doesn't end there.
Veteran musician Sunil Pereira addressed a gathering organized by a group of civil activists in Kandy yesterday.
As long as there are innocent people, religion can be used to bend them into any direction. When the bond scam and such incidents came about, they were overjoyed. The people who speak the loudest are the same people who rob the most. The proceedings on the Bond Commission proceeded at a fast pace. Just ask them if they are okay with the cases against them proceeding at such a pace. Then they will say it can't be done.
Going back to local news, clarifications were made on several matters at the Cabinet media briefing today.
There is no truth to that claim. Every Navy commander and Army commander must retire at the age of 55. It is the government which decides if an extension must be granted. The next in line to that position is also taken into consideration. There should not be any injustice. All these factors are taken into consideration, and that is why at times a 1-year extension is given. His term was extended by 1 month. The vessel is being obtained by the military through a procurement process. Those matters must be decided by the military. They decided on the prices and go in for a tender procedure. That is discussed and approved in cabinet.
Sri Lanka නිදහස් පක්ෂ මතය තමයි 10ක ජනාධිපතිකම එහෙම තියාගන්න ඕනේ මත. ඔබතුමාලා බලය ගත්තේ මේක අතුරු වාර්තාවේ තියෙන්නේ මේ
There are numerous proposals in the interim report. One is to abolish the executive presidency, another is to continue with that and have an election through parliament. There is no definite decision. There are proposals for a president with limited powers. All these will be taken into consideration and produced before parliament. Then the parties will come together and discuss the matter, and finally the draft will be prepared.
Well, we wrap tonight's news by taking a look at the picture that speaks louder than words. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Joel Outscoren.
And I'm Mahina Bongzo. Good night.
Good night.